Inspired by Love is a podcast hosted by Rachellelove, dedicated to promoting inspiration, hope, and giving a healthy dose of God's love for every aspect of life. Rachelle is a seasoned inspirational enthusiast who uses witty commentary and biblical truths for real-life solutions, offers business strategies, health and wealth tips, and self-love care. Unlock the power tools to dig deeper, discover your untapped potential, and live your best extraordinary life. Here's your host, Rachellelove.
And welcome to Inspired by Love. I'm Rachellelove, and I am so happy and delighted to have my guest here today. We are celebrating and saluting those women that have had a bout with breast cancer and how they are thriving and surviving and living fabulously. And none other than Miss Denise Roberts. Hello, Denise. And
Hello.
And one of her fellow warriors, Miss Bunny Council. Hello, Miss Bunny.
Hello, how are you?
I'm wonderful, wonderful. So, Miss Denise, you have been a pillar in the community. So, can you just reacquaint us and tell us your story?
Yes. First of all, let me say, praise God that we are all here
Yes.
and able to be fabulous. Well, I'm going to start off by, yes, I'm Denise Roberts, and I am a 33-year survivor of breast cancer. I first bout, yeah. And I want to start you ladies with, and everyone, with the quote that is become a part of me when I'm speaking. The pain you feel every day is the strength you'll feel tomorrow. For every challenge is encountered, there is an opportunity for growth.
Yes.
And I think that says a lot about Bunny and I and every other woman that has survived, no matter what their challenge has been.
Mm-hmm.
We're talking about breast cancer, but Rochelle, as you know, you have had your challenges and you're sitting here surviving and looking good in your pink,
Thank you,
looking
Lord.
healthy.
Yes.
If you understand in saying that, I want to talk about what I have done. As I said, I'm 33 years living from breast cancer. But I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for early detection and being proactive.
Yes.
Every person that we talk to in the foundation, we get back to that same sentence. Being proactive, know your body, know what's happening, because you can go to the doctor and they will be very good only if you are ready yourself. You won't know if the doctor is good if you haven't been taking care and recognizing yourself.
Yes.
They can tell you about 500 or 600 patients they have seen in the past before you sat before them. But if you're not equipped and ready to say, I'm here because A, B, and C is happening to my body,
Yes.
then you're kind of wasting your time.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why I'm cutting to the chase. I went to the doctor at 29 and 30 years old and told them about symptoms that was happening to my body that I couldn't explain, such as hair loss that was more than just some strands every time I combed my hair, spots on my face, different things that were happening, and they gave me their answers as a professional, and I followed it.
Okay.
But now you move on into your years. I didn't just take what they said and let it go.
Mm-hmm.
I watched it. I said, okay, they know what they're doing, so let me see if this stops. And it didn't.
Right. Yes.
So now we're into 33 years old, right? And I'm seeing the same symptoms that I had, but now I've got more. And so I'm 33 now. I started talking to you about this at 29. I knew about breast cancer, but I didn't. I had no one talking to me in my family or friends about breast cancer. And that's real. Now, maybe in other nationalities, cultures, they've been talking about it only because, and I'm going to say this so we can keep this real.
Yes.
You saw signs up for the walks,
Yes.
for this, but you didn't see those signs on Crenshaw.
No.
You did not see those signs in Compton. You did not see those signs in Watts.
Yes.
So I'm telling you, I kept seeing my symptoms growing, and I kept talking to my white and other friends about symptoms, but they didn't have anything to do. They just said, girl, you need to get a mammogram when you're 40. Well, I'm 33, about to be 34, and I asked the doctor that same question. Do I need a mammogram? No, not really, because I'm giving you a clinical exam. Do we all know what the clinical exam is?
No.
That's where the doctor
Explain.
is feeling, right, is feeling on your breast to see if he feels anything, and on your neck. But they're not making that so obvious to our sisters and brothers out there. When they're doing it, it's just if they don't feel it, you're out.
Oh, wow.
But that is a very important part of going to see your doctor, is understanding what he's doing with your breast. What is he looking for?
Yes.
And how often did you do that? So my doctors told me that my symptoms, they told me to take different things to grow the hair stronger, take these vitamins, rest more. You got 2 kids, you got a husband. You know, I heard all the general attitudes. You're going to be fine because I don't feel anything in your breast. I'm doing this clinical exam once a year.
Wow.
So I'm going to say to you that me and Bunny realized, now that we have the foundation, now that we are thriving from breast cancer, we should have been told, when you go take your shower, when you're sitting there talking, and you feel, do a clinical exam, learn how to check your breast.
Okay, so
Okay.
let me just interject right there. Bonnie, can you share a little bit on how you found your cancer bout?
Pretty much the same scenario. I had been going to the gynecologist, and I would always feel some hard spot against my nipple. And he said, oh, this is just calcified tissue. First thing he said is put a cold compress or a hot compress on it and put some Neosporin over it. He thought it was like the nipple. And I said, no, this is going on for years and years and years. And then I switched gynecologists, and I became of age, like 40, 48. And then he says, oh, maybe we need to look at this. And I'm like, yeah, I've been telling another gynecologist for years, and he was just sloughing me off. And it was just terrible.
40.
And I was already telling my friends, feel this. And no one else could have a response.
So basically what you're telling me, there is a scenario, especially in the Black community, when we're going to doctors, they are not taking the precautionary care with us to do the due diligence. So that's why Denise is saying, you got to know your body. You got to advocate for yourself. And so, Miss Denise, I'm gonna go back to you because this conversation needs to be had. We have men and women and even our youth that are experiencing breast cancer, just cancer of all kinds, but specifically, we're speaking about breast cancer. October is Breast Cancer Awareness. So for the whole month of October, we are celebrating Denise Roberts, the Breast Cancer Foundation. And if anyone is listening to the podcast today, if you want to make a donation, we will allow you to do so, or make a donation in the memory of a loved one or a friend. You will be given that opportunity. So Miss Denise, how did you just carry on to get the doctor to acknowledge what you were saying?
Because, Rochelle, I am Denise. My job is to be aggressive in order for me in my business, my career as an interior decorator and store owner. I have to be aggressive. I have to have a great memory to remember what my clients want to buy. I had to know what the studio was telling they wanted to have on their set. So part of my foundation of my aggressiveness was what I do every day. I had to know who was going to take care of my kids, when my husband was coming home. So I've always been an aggressive personality. So when I saw these extra symptoms happening at 33 going into 34 and nothing is happening, I then had a wake-up call given to me by a very great angel. And that angel was a young lady that I hadn't seen in years from high school. But I had been putting makeup on my spots that I saw coming. I was teasing my hair and taking the niacin. And I went to an event and I came into the bathroom and she was in there and we were both at the mirror and she looked over at me and said, "You look familiar. Are you Denise Brown?" Well, that's my maiden name. So I knew that we knew each other for a while. And then when I looked back at her, I realized she was from high school, but I didn't like her. So, she didn't like me. So therefore, it all started. And I still say this is that angel because I had been going to the doctor and telling him about my symptoms. But here God said, "I'm going to send it to you blank. I'm no chasers." And this young lady said, "So what are you doing now?" And I immediately started with the resume of I'm married, I got a nice home, and I'm a decorator in a store, and you should come by and visit the store. We have great items. I went on. She was quiet, looked at me, and she said, "Oh, maybe I will." And she got to the door to leave and turned around and said, "You really need to slow down because you look very old." And walked the door.
Ooh, shade.
Do was look in that mirror and try and dab those tears, right? Dab the tears away. But I also saw something else. I saw the brown spots that I was trying to hide with the makeup.
Thank God.
I felt the fatigue that I had told them about, which is a big symptom, will tell you, of breast cancer, possibly. But something is wrong when you have fatigue that is beyond, you do something in 15 minutes, you're sick. You're tired.
Okay.
Fatigue. So Monday, that was on a Sunday. Monday, I was in my doctor's office.
Okay.
And I said, "Give me a mammogram." And the rest is history. So as I said, that pain you feel, you get that strength if you are ready to listen to your body.
Yes.
And do something. Not just say, "Okay, the doctor told me and I'll be all right," as Bunny did. So we started a foundation, and I'm going to go back to it because you've given us this opportunity. 20 years we are doing this foundation.
Yes.
And our biggest, and we will not stop, is education. And if you have the resources, then you will take care.
Yes. Miss Denise, can you give us the website where people can kind of log on and check it out?
Most definitely. It's I got to put my glasses back on. I don't know if I heard those 20 years. www.prbcf.org. And that's where you can make online donations, or we have our post office box, Post Office Box 83163, Los Angeles, California, 90083. They can mail donations, and we have our wonderful 888 833-6473, which is open 24 hours. And we don't have a lot of volunteers. We ask people to be patient with us, and you're giving us this opportunity. Maybe we'll get volunteers that want to answer our phones more.
Yes.
And help, because this is the only way Denise Roberts Breast Cancer Foundation has been able to exist, is by people like yourself. We have a lot of donors that have gone away, and then even more so with the pandemic. But we have to depend on everyday sisters and brothers saying, I got something from Denise, or I got something from Bunny, from Jetta, Madeline, all of the women and men that have helped us to grow this foundation. They have turned us on to how we can get into our communities and talk to them, not just showing them a sign that you should walk. And I'm gonna give you another quick story.
Okay.
I got, with 20 years, we
Oh, yes.
We went to, years ago, when I started this foundation, I had the blessing to get James Ingram and basically the whole Ingram family to support me, because they were supporting before the foundation. And that is such an honor, because we know who James Ingram is, but we didn't know how powerful his wife, who was his manager for all of his years. They brought me and the foundation to a Jim Brown event at the park, where he had the eye care program for men getting out of prison. They were going rehabbing, you know, getting jobs, finding skills, and they were having a softball game. So James told me, James Ingram said, you should bring your foundation to the park and be next to KGLH radio. And those men are bringing who with them? Their wives and girlfriends.
Absolutely.
Wives and girlfriends. So we set up a stand that wasn't easy. I'm just not going to go through the whole, because I had to fight, be proactive, because Jim Brown said, this is not the place to talk about breast cancer. I said, well, it would be the place if you get it. And he said, what? Men get, and he was shocked. What are you talking about? Men can get breast cancer? I said, most definitely. So we started there with people that were totally unaware of breast cancer hitting them. And Rochelle, we had, and from that event, almost 13 women to get mammograms. And guess what? 20 or 30 more that found out what a mammogram was.
Oh my
They
goodness.
didn't know what a mammogram, but they looked at 7 women that I said, you don't know what a mammogram is? All of us here are living because we had a mammogram and they found breast cancer. So they said, all of us in different colors, shapes, and ages, and they went, wow. They didn't, some of them didn't even know how to pronounce it on a flyer. So from that day, we are still perplexed that in our communities, we have a high mortality rate because of what? No education, no access to health care, nobody's coming talking to them. So we are here by the grace of God and by people like yourself.
You know what?
Help to get the word out.
That is an incredible story. And, you know, before, because we've had an acquaintance over 6 years ago, I prayed and I said, Lord, I want to do something different. And you dropped into my spirit. So I know it is a divine connection. And I just want to share my testimony really quickly. So about 4 years ago, I had just celebrated my 50th birthday, you know, all the hoopla, whatever. And then a month later, I started feeling funny, really. And I was at work and I ran off and went to the hospital, checked in, and they said, oh, same as you. No, nothing, can't find anything. Looking to see if I had a heart attack, and I guess your body gives off some type of chemical, and it was a little elevated. So a month from there, it was May 22nd, I had a sudden cardiac arrest and I
Oh my,
died on my living room floor.
oh my goodness.
It was
Oh
my
my goodness.
husband who was there, and the Lord spoke to him and said, go check on your wife. So we do have to be in tune with our bodies. We have to be in
Yes.
tune with our mates. I mean, really, because there's a purpose here, Denise.
Yes.
Yes.
God has
Yes.
spared your life. Bunny, God has spared your life. And
Yes.
your purpose
Yes.
is really, it has elevated out of what has happened to you. So
Yes.
my whole purpose right now for Inspired by Love really is to share God's gospel, his love, but also to educate our people. And I was looking at the statistics, and it said like African Americans, and I've even talked to different people, they are really afraid to go to the doctor to get even a checkup, to get a mammogram, to do the
Yes,
breast.
we still are.
It's like, well, why don't you know how to do a breast exam? They're yours. This is your body. Touch your body, feel it, see if anything
Yes.
feels different. So I'm now mature. I'm a little bit more seasoned. And so, yes, I'm in tune with my body. I look at my body and I examine myself. So I don't want to go to the doctor and be surprised. I want to be able
There
to
you go.
look at myself
Right.
and then take the necessary action. So Denise, you were proactive. Not
Yes.
only were you proactive, you became an advocate for yourself. You're saying, hey, something's wrong here. I'm not going to just accept what you say. You better come here and check me and send me.
Absolutely.
Right.
So
I got living to do. I kept saying, after I told him, I said, I got 2 kids. I got a party to go to. I mean, what you doing to me? You keep
yes,
telling me fine, but my body is saying no. You think about how many times and so many women here
yes,
I had. I'm going to a PPO. I'm doing it. And then when I find out that I do have breast cancer, it is because I went and asked the questions. And I didn't stop there, people. I didn't stop there. When they told me that I was getting a mammogram and I got the mammogram, my story goes further. They gave me the mammogram and they came back and said, we saw something, but it's benign and you're fine. And I had the intervention of another angel, and that was my husband, who, as a doctor, was not satisfied, and he reads x-rays all the time, but he didn't tell me. I was too happy to go home and say, well, I got the mammogram, I'm good. See, at least I found out, so probably I'm gonna get better, hair gonna get thicker, I won't be tired. I gave myself all of this after they said you were fine. And 10 days later, it is still emotional today that my husband came to me. He had taken that same test and took it to another hospital where he knew his colleagues and got it tested. And they said to him a couple of days, these days later, that patient, whoever this is, has breast cancer.
oh my goodness.
So, what happened is that they missed it because it was in the nipple, the milk ducts, the milk ducts. So I had in situ breast cancer, and it's very hard to find because it's no lumps, it was no discharging, none of the things that you read in the textbook.
Okay,
It
so
was
now
just me.
if I can just elaborate on some of the symptoms that a typical, if it is typical, but some of the symptoms that appear for breast cancer?
Bunny, I'm gonna give that over.
Oh, well, maybe the hardness and lump. So most of it really comes in the nipple area. So, and if you're having any kind of exudate or anything that's coming out of the nipple, if you squeeze, some of the little nipple heads will swell up. And so if you can squeeze that and you're taking something out, then that might be a sign. But if you're going through menopause, that might not be a sign. And that might be your doctor said, oh, you're just going through your menopause, the milk ducts are acting up. But that is something for you to really research. And just doing the monthly breast exams to see whether there's some lumps or any changes of some lumps that you have already. That is the main thing. And you know, the intuition. You know your body.
God gives it to us.
Yes,
Excuse me. That's why I wanted Bunny to go more clinical on that, because I want people to understand what I went through.
Mm-hmm.
I had I had no lumps, dumps, nothing happening. But I had the symptoms that I'm going to repeat again. I had spots that appeared in my forehead, in between my eyes. I had under eye bags that were turning brown. I had hair coming out from the root. We need to know when hair is coming out from the root and not just the strands, blues. It is the white little bulb, and that says your hair is coming out from the root. There is a weakening. And the biggest sign that I got was fatigue, because you know, we all get tired when we are tasking, and we have excuses for it. We'll go lay down, let's go take a nap, let's do that. Well, I was doing all that, but when I came down 14 steps to feed my children their breakfast and get them off to school, I was done. I had to sit down and the breathing was heavy. And I was like, wow, I've never experienced being that tired just going up and down the stairs for a few minutes and just sitting. And then I felt better.
Were you losing weight as well?
I never had a weight issue.
Okay.
Because I was always so vain. Yeah. If something was happening, you know, then I stopped eating that, you know, and I'm very active. So I didn't see any of that. I was only listening to the doctors telling me I was working too much. And that's why you're tired. But that doesn't make sense when you know what you're tired from and you've never been tired in 15 minutes from coming up and down the stairs.
True.
So you have to look at the other symptoms that's going on. As Bunny said, they may occur, but you don't want to wait. Because if I had waited, I wouldn't be here. I would be in the great memory of Denise. Wow. You know, she was a very cool person, but she would be out of here, because when I finally got to the second opinion doctor, he said, no, you were right to refuse the chemo and radiation. We need to go in and give you a mastectomy, because at your age and when you started having these symptoms, I believe cancer is somewhere else. And God blessing, it was. When he removed that breast, I had 7 more hot carcinomas growing.
Wow.
That would have not been.
Yeah.
Was this a
very
family
aggressive
history? Was it a family history?
Not really. Yes, I had breast cancer in the family, but I had cancer in the family. That's why I was so scared.
Okay.
My brother that was younger than me died of leukemia. My grandmother died of breast cancer. My father's sister, my aunt, had breast cancer. My cousin got breast cancer. So we had it going on, but you have to understand, this is why we're doing this conversation. Yes. Nobody was talking about it.
Nobody was talking about it.
Okay, he had it. Okay, let's be quiet. Yes. Nobody's anything. You know, I started this foundation and diagnosed my mother at 79. She hadn't had, her mother died of breast cancer, and and her daughter got breast cancer, and she said, "Oh, I'm too old to get a mammogram. I'm all right." And I said, "No, you're not on my watch." So she got a mammogram at 79, and a week later, she had breast cancer. And
My Lord.
20 years later, she is here. Hallelujah.
Yes.
99 years old and never had another problem.
My
Yeah,
God.
that's what it's called. What, familia? Familia, where it
Yeah.
runs in families.
Right.
And then I had to,
Tested.
pardon me?
Well, and we've all been tested.
Yeah.
My older sister died of breast cancer in 2010. And she's working with the foundation and getting her mammogram, but she didn't have a lot of the tests because she was involved in other things that was happening on her body. And sometimes you forget. And this is why I've gone even stronger because of her.
Yes.
Not aware that you have to do something else when you got this history happening. Because the doctors didn't tell her, well, maybe we need to do X, Y, and Z. But guess what? Denise Roberts Breast Cancer Foundation, since she's passed, is forcing these topics to our members and to wherever they'll let us talk.
Yes.
Go and ask MRI, go get your pap smear, go get checked.
Absolutely. When my story is a little bit different because we had the BRCA gene in my family and no one knew. And when 1998, when I was diagnosed, there was no discussion, no one talked about BRCA. And when my uncle, who was in a rest home, died of breast cancer, that one made my oncologist say, why don't I test you? If your uncle died of breast cancer? We was like, that was so unusual, so rare. Only 3 men have had it. Beyonce's father, who else?
Shaft, our tough Shaft, Richard Roundtree.
Richard Roundtree, yes. And one other, what's a little, can't say the little one. He was a commentator and he had a show. I can't think of it. And so therefore, when I was diagnosed and had the BRCA, there's
What
something
is
else
BRCA, Bunny?
That is the breast cancer gene.
Okay.
BRCA. That's the breast cancer gene. So they had advised me to have my sons checked. So I have no daughters. And my cousin, the son of my uncle that passed, he has had several lumps removed in his breast. So I'm preaching to my sons, and that's what has stimulated me to go ahead and have the second mastectomy, because it was preventative. Because the gene was there. So that was a preventative mastectomy, and that went smooth, no problems. Everyone knew what was going on, and I'm here today. I'm 22 years.
Wow, that is awesome. So from a medical standpoint, what are some of the things that we as individuals can, just do for ourselves? Because we know the environment is impacted, our diets are impacted, exercise. What else is there at our disposal?
If you have a lot of breast cancer in your family, I would definitely go to get that tested for the gene, and also familia, what they call the family history. But if you're doing all the right things, and sometimes we slip and fall for the diet and for the exercise, and there also has been some correlations with alcohol and breast cancer.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's a big study. And so they said,
I say that if you get on the freeway and you have a little bit of gas, then don't get all the way over in the fast lane.
Exactly.
Okay? So fill yourself up with enough gas so that you can keep going. And I fill myself up when they told me I had breast cancer in 1987, and they looked at my diet. I was not overweight, but I did a lot of milk and cheese in my diet, and not a lot of greens. I ate vegetables with my kids or whatever. And I had alcohol, but I was never, like I had to have a drink every day or something like that. because I was too busy and I'm a mother, you know.
Yes.
But when I was diagnosed and they removed my breast, I went to an herbalist and he said, I'm going to tell you, if you've got a 5-year plan, which they told me I had 5 years before I was out of the woods, I had a 70% chance that the cancer was, and that's pretty high. So he took me off of dairy and added and cheese, you know, just dairy period. And he said, no alcohol, and load your body up with that gas so you can get in the fast lane. And I loaded up more vegetables. I started playing more, you know, I like tennis, but I started dancing.
Oh.
I like dancing and moving and grooving, you know, and I felt better mentally.
Yes.
And I've been a person that loved to decorate. So I learned how to do drywall and, you know, really to just keep myself moving. So I would think of the fact that I'm doing all these things different because I had cancer, you know, because I had cancer is a very scary thing.
Yes.
You know, to talk about this, it is not as easy as Bunny and I are saying. We still, every time I go and get my mammogram, remember, when you first get diagnosed, you have to go get a mammogram every 3 months.
Wow.
Every 3 months. For 5 years, I did that. An exam, a mammogram, and I had to take off my clothes every day and see this battle scar that I wasn't calling a battle scar. I wasn't calling the scar of winning as a warrior. I was calling that scar, I'm mutilated. You know, I'm hurt.
Yes.
And nobody knows that but me. So I had to work this out to get to where I am today, 33 years later.
Yes.
And look at that scar as my warrior, my son.
Yes.
A scar trying to break Denise down, but you didn't, because I'm here. You know, I'm here.
Yes.
And so when people tell you eat 2 pounds of vegetables a day and all that, you know, if you don't need that much because your gas tank will probably flow over, right? Come on now. Don't tell me if they see me having a glass of best champagne. Now, if I pour that champagne bottle completely down in me every day, then I guess I might have a problem because I'm not looking that it's flowing out, you know?
Yes.
I'm hiding.
Yes.
So we are working on, Rochelle, I go back to the Denise Roberts Breast Cancer Foundation is going to give you resources, going to give you support. We're going to give you outreach that you may not have found. We have partnered with organizations like the AKA's, where is Carla's group, where they do bags that we give to
links.
Right.
Yeah.
It fills up with things that you need while you're going through your chemo treatment, your radiation, pillows, and inside information, what you can eat that might enhance your immune system. Because we all are doing something to enhance that immune system. We can't talk about
now.
Yeah, especially sitting here on this pandemic, we don't know what's happening. So we will continue if they call us. Call us and get these resources, get educated, but more importantly, wrap your arms around yourself and be your advocate.
Yes.
Never.
Miss Denise, please give out the number again and the website, because I will be talking about this all month, and we will be promoting your foundation because I feel it's such a necessary need and resource for people to tap in, be educated, and really just have a voice, someone that looks like them. It's not, not to knock any other organization, but it will be one thing to see our people out there walking, in droves and groves and numbers, because there's strength in numbers. There's strength in
Yes.
numbers. So
The number.
we have to come together and get the word out.
Yes, yes,
Right.
yes, yes.
Miss
And
Bunny,
if you say,
Well,
go ahead.
I'm going
go
to,
ahead.
and if you see Miss Denise, you're going to say, "Oh, I'm going to be just like that fly girl when I get cured." All right,
Absolutely.
that there is a life after breast cancer.
Yes.
Yes, it's always a deficit.
And see,
No,
that's
it's
the
not.
thing. That's a
Yes,
mentality that we definitely have to break in our community.
yes.
The broke mentality, the scarcity mentality, not
Mhm.
having enough mentality. It's time for us to pull ourselves up by our bootstraps, lock arms, and get out there and make a difference. So this is
Absolutely.
election year. So I would be
Mhm.
remiss if I didn't say anything about to get out and vote. I don't care who you vote for
Absolutely.
because
Woo,
it's
yes.
your business. But I want
But
you to
vote.
exercise the right that people died for, they shed blood for, our ancestors, right?
Yes,
This
yes.
Yes.
country was built on their
On
backs.
the
So
facts.
we owe it to
Absolutely.
ourselves to take
Hmm.
the pen and the gavel and really look at the legislation, look at the
Absolutely.
that they're trying to pass. So it's not just the president, but there are so many things that we need
So many
to have a
bills.
voice. We need to have
Yes,
a voice.
yes.
We need to exercise our right. Don't let anyone talk you out of, oh, it doesn't work or the justice system not fair. No, you need to
Hmm.
exercise your right.
Hmm.
That's it.
Hmm.
Why
That's
don't you
it.
become one of the,
That's wonderful.
if people are talking about so much negativity. Oh, he didn't do this, or she's not going to do this. Why don't you start it then? Because
Right,
that's what Denise Roberts did, and that's what
right.
I tell.
Denise,
I'm
right.
saying I didn't get it. I didn't get what I was wanted from the doctors. I
Yes.
didn't get from support groups what I wanted.
Hmm.
So guess what? I stopped my business and said, I'm going to do it my damn self.
That's
I'm
right.
going to give people what I wanted. And maybe it would work if I could get 2 or 3 women and men to start looking at their bodies, to start talking about it. I mean, I'm just amazed at over the 20 years at how many people have come to us.
Hmm.
Bunny will agree with this, that say, I never knew
Right,
that
right,
if you had breast, you could look like you, or could
Mm-hmm.
party like you, or do this,
right,
because you don't see us.
Yes.
right.
You
Hmm.
only hear about us dying.
Hmm.
Yes.
You
Hmm.
only
Hmm.
hear how
Yes,
Diane Carroll was so beautiful and everything, but you didn't know that she had her challenges until she's dying.
right. Hmm.
And God, and you saw this beautiful lady who was a warrior, but
Yeah.
nobody was talking about it in her circle.
Hmm. Hmm.
So we have to
So
change that.
I want to bring it. I
Yes.
want to bring, and here's our number again. Please call 888-833-6473. Go to the
Hmm.
website and see what we're doing. Ask questions at www.tdrbcf.org, which is org. Please mail to our post office box, P.O. Box 83163, Los Angeles, California 90083. Look for us on the street. We look just like you.
That's
We
right.
look just like you.
Absolutely.
Whatever
Amen.
we can do, we want to come to you.
Well, Miss Bonnie, do you have a takeaway that you would like to leave the
Uh,
listeners?
no, you just please stay attuned to your body. Make you feel your
Yes.
breaths, and don't be afraid. We are living.
Yes.
I think that's the key. That's the main key that we want to
Yes.
get through. And just in case anyone is listening and they're struggling and they have fear, let me just say a quick prayer.
Yes.
Lord,
Yes.
I thank you for Miss Denise and Miss Bunny, Lord. Thank you for keeping them and covering them and their families, Father God. Thank you for your word is true and everlasting and never fails. Father, we thank you that you sent your son, Jesus, who laid his life down, who redeemed us us from the hand of the enemy, from the curse of the law, from poverty, sickness, and disease. And by his stripes, we are healed. And so with that, I just thank both of you. And Miss Denise will be in touch. And I just appreciate you sharing your story. I mean, it's life-changing, but it's not a death sentence. And I think that's the main thing we want to get over to people. Don't be afraid. God has not given us a spirit of fear, power, love, and a sound mind. So I'm going to leave my listeners with this. Be inspired by love. Bye now.
Thank you for tuning in to Inspired by Love. Join us every Wednesday for the juice to be inspired. Like, follow, and share this podcast. Be sure to leave a positive rating